And here we are again. They said I couldn't get a new background out of this garden, but I did. I did it, and we're doing it. We're doing it right now. Hello, and welcome to your next Village Idiot. I am Daniel McKeown, your titular Village Idiot in this capacity, and you come to us on perhaps the windiest of the episodes so far. We've been quite lucky in that since I started making it, we're ramping up into spring and summer, meaning that usually the lighting is very good. But perhaps I'm leaning into the grey overcastedness with this incredibly rundown shed that we have here. I'm not a woodworker. I would never pretend to be a woodworker, but I will say this thing has seen better days. We put chairs in it. And that's all it's good for, really. For context of where we are, as ever, the Unite the Kingdom rally and the Nakba rally were on, and the Nakba march, were on over the weekend on Saturday. So that just helps. That might just help remind you of what date we're on. With the following Monday, I am actually kind of living out, I think, quite a popular personal fantasy of people, which is pretending to be an old lighthouse keeper in my big coat, warning of a storm coming in. I think latently, even if you don't know it, everyone wants to be one of the characters in Jaws. And I think I saw the wind, don't really know what I would warn people about other than, there's wind! Feel that wind! Look at my coat, look how it billows, but somehow still ties together very well. My God. That's sort of the vibe. You also have Murphy, I imagine, will be joining me throughout, hopefully, if he doesn't try and jump the fence as he often does. He's currently, as I can see him over there, he is currently thinking of climbing the tree to get out. He knows the mildew situation, so I don't know. I don't think that's what's calling it cat asthma, is casthma, if you will, but it's something we've got to be aware of. I tell the vet, they don't care. Mostly because I'm just telling everybody. As ever, I'm fascinated by the complete batshittery of the Telegraph's reporting. I've been a long-time collector of insane Telegraph headlines because I truly believe they are completely out of their tree. It happens with a lot of these right-wing papers when as soon as they try and be goofy, they reveal a macabre performance of what's deemed as normal. My favorite thing about them is that they really do, if you read just the headlines like I do, like the push notifications that I get, you really do get to live in a kind of like a simulator of what a political cartoon would feel. It's like if you want to know what it feels like to be a big hammer called autocracy, or a prescription of drugs that's socialism. Oh, you gotta read these headlines. They are worried about problems that no one has and laissez-faire about problems that affect every single person. Like you will read a headline that will be literally like talking about how the cost of gold is being affected by recent trends, or like, it's like, oh, I had a £25 steak in London, come with me to find my secret. Like, they really have no. I might just throw some up on each side here just as a point of reference, but it's really fascinating. But then at the same time, their opinion pieces will be like, it's like, why the war is actually going to be a little dampener on my trip to Cornwall. Like, it's that their priorities are in the complete wrong space. They're either like calling for war like it's the last announcement of booking a flight in a group chat to go on a bachelor party, or like completely burning the biggest effigy you can imagine to alert everyone to the fact that Gen Z are wearing sandals in cinemas. You know what I mean? Like, they just have no. It's completely misaligned, and I think I read them because it's always good to escape yourself. However, listen, I don't think anyone is normal in dealing with everything we're dealing with. Like, I know we're all kind of living through the complete breakdown of any kind of civil society, incrementally, beat by beat. And you know, in the height of empathy, I can maybe relate to them feeling manic, but I truly, it's a kind of ghastly affair, and it feels moneyed, although I feel like it's like I don't know, like a much more nefariously middle class, because obviously I think it began with the culture war of trying to convince people that trans people are insane and they aren't valid and they aren't, you know, the people that they are, and that they shouldn't be allowed to be the people they are. I think because like that was like a culture war thing, they felt like, oh, we actually should present a well-rounded cultural perspective to justify this complete nullification of people's rights. And then they got a little loopy with it, and they thought they were being funny and good with it, and that everyone's on their side. That's the thing I never really comprehend in the same way, of like the kind of like, we all do this, right? You know. There was a recent one by a man called Guy Kelly, which I know sounds like a spy trying to come up with a fake name completely in the moment. Just like, Guy? It's to say, it's up there with Penn Badgley in terms of names that are completely nonsensical. But Guy Kelly, there's obviously been a lot of stuff, a big sort of green anti-Zach Polanski tarnishing thing where they tried to make him seem insane for, like, I don't know, paying off his council tax, or like the tit thing, which I think we can all agree was weird. But it was like a fake perspective from Zach Polanski, which was, dare I say, the least funny thing I've ever read. It had all the vibe of like your step uncle trying to conduct Christmas quiz, but being way too geared up and raw about it. Like, where it's like, this is gonna be fun, this is gonna be really fun. No, please gather around and play Monopoly with me. We'll do the voices. Like, it's like, obviously there's this kind of middle ground of like satire, which is like, you know, bollocks and terrible, which is like the kind of have I got news for you Twitter feed of like, well, do you see what I did there? I can comprehend the policy and make a very wry comment about it. But it's not that. It's the kind of mania of someone who's been around people who've said he's really funny on cocaine, or really funny like after a few drinks, when really it's not the mood at all. And like, you're like, oh, I think you've been hanging out with people that told you you're David Mitchell in some capacity, and you are not. It feels so calculated, the moves against figures like Zach Polanski in that way, and like to sort of so enjoy the pile on to like get a kick out of it. It was like, I was once in a hairdresser's in Chobham, believe it or not, and they had like Piers Morgan on in the background. I was like, oh, and you're like, do you really sit and enjoy this? Because my perspective, like most people, was that Piers Morgan fucking sucks. Like, I found it fascinating that they even put him on morning news. Do you remember that? Do you remember when they put Piers Morgan on morning news? Remember when people at 8 a.m. were getting ready to go to work and were watched maybe the most annoying guy talk ever? Like, imagine if you worked in a coffee shop and you were like opening up, and someone like Piers Morgan starts yelling at you about what they think at 8 a.m. The lunacy knows no bounds. And like, I'm looking over my shoulder like Piers is going to come and get me, but I'm also checking on Murphy because I'm worried he's going to jump the fence. For the cat owners, you'll know that having a cat who goes outside is sometimes like having your own sort of Steve McQueen from The Great Escape, where he is just constantly trying to get out. And he's making me the Nazi about it. And anyway, because he's got... The thing with Piers Morgan is you have to remember, he is the sellout. Like, this is a guy who went from, like, spying on dead kids' phones to, like, judging talented dogs on television to, I guess, trying to get a word in with 5 of just the worst streamers you can imagine. Like, his saving grace was that he, like, sometimes could make an argument and didn't buy into Israeli propaganda after October 7th. So, like, he is not someone who we should trust, at the very least, be entertained by. Like, no, it's that kind of thing. I feel like oh god, we've all sort of, he is climbing the tree quite badly now. I might actually just show you guys in a hot second, because he is getting bold with it. Can you believe, this is what you all want to see anyway, can you believe this goober? Can you believe this, what he's been trying to pull off? It's absolutely ludicrous. There's nowhere for you there, my friend. It's all knotted Japanese sybil all the way down. You don't want this smoke, dude. You don't want to get that high. Okay. Yeah, this is exactly why one should not podcast while you're watching your cat. We've let this get out of control. The Fisherman's Watch has not been good. As an update, we're using the tripod to try and nudge him out. Okay, so my co-host is safely back inside after getting extremely far and risking hurting himself on a rose bush. We are all... Fisherman's Watch is over. We are back inside now and let the storm pass over because somebody was being a little crazy. He just wanted to climb on it. It was very much like, you know, in cartoons they make like a cat being caught up a tree like a cute thing. But that was life or death for me. We could have lost one of our great cats, one of the great cats. Elsewhere, there's a new Drake album out. 3, apparently. If you can believe it, he's been doing 3. And I really hope he's able to cover the same idea and sentiment across all 3 at some point. I'm excited to listen to the 1, maybe 2 good songs out of the course of all 3 albums. That would be fantastic. A friend of mine is a big Drake fan and is sort of soft launching that it's okay to like Drake again. And we were hanging out with her last night, and she was telling us that you have to think of Drake not as a multi-pound, this guy's pulling in multi-pounds. How many? You don't need to know. You can't think of him, as a multi-million pound rapper. You simply must see him as a comedian. Which I totally get where she's coming from, and like, you know, there's cases made for being funny, but it is such a downgrade for him. Like you're downgrading the fella so bad with that. Like, just no, it's like, no, you have to just completely ignore him as any kind of integrity. I think it's the thing with Drake in general, where like he is a bought and sold success. Like, he is, you know, one of the most streamed artists ever. He's a huge deal. Like, he should have nothing left to prove to anyone. And yet, it seems like he has to prove more and more all the time. Like, he's always upset that no one's taking him seriously. He's always talking about, like, oh, people took my kindness for weakness. I'm going crazy on them now. Like, I'm coming back and getting them. And it's like, there's nothing wrong with being the silly fun guy. I remember when, not God's Plan, what was the other one? I can't even remember what it was, but it was that one, the fun one. What's the fun one from Drake songs? The only one I can think of is the one's like, Kiki, do you love me? But I don't think that's not even the right one. He has multiple fun songs. Listen, and before anyone tarnishes me with the performative Drake hater brush, he has several good songs that I will defend. Over My Dead Body, Hotline Bling, those are the ones that spring to mind. What was it? Nice for What? That was the one. And Nice for What, which I will say is a banger. And it was such a banger because it was the first time that Drake didn't hate women. And I think it was so refreshing for all of us. I think there was some real hope in that. It felt like how I imagine it felt seeing Obama get elected with a fully functioning brain. Like, it was so joyful. Imagine this guy. He's given so much to Toronto and to his people and making sure everybody eats and all that stuff, whatever, all the stuff that people say about Drake. Imagine if he just didn't, if he believed in women, liked women in any capacity. No, you know, when I say women, I of course mean grown women. We knew his pensions before that, but he's complete artifice of success at this point. He's a complete. He doesn't. What? Every time he tries to be about something, he doesn't seem to be about anything. Most of the time, the thing that he's like, this is the real me. This is like, I'm not just performing and giving you old Drake or whatever. It's always basically that a girl won't text him back, or that, if you can believe it, a woman he was texting has changed and doesn't want to text him anymore. But also, I have an ulterior motive for bringing up Drake, which is that I have a sort of another fable for you. This fable speaks to, I think it's a warning fable of the dangers of fame and the kind of, not even real fame, but that kind of delusional new fame we have with the world of influencers and YouTubers, and if you have old money and new money, it's almost like old fame and new fame now. Old fame is like, you know, you do 3 different romance pictures with the same broad, and you know, you're in love with her, but you slap her around, and then you get to go to the Oscars, and the Oscars is a nice luncheon where you wear your best suit. New fame is like, you know, you have to stream your roasts on Netflix, or like, you know, get in a made up beef with another podcaster that ends in you doing a fist fight. You know what I mean? There's a new kind of like fame as a concept and as cultural clout outside of money making, obviously, had a huge amount of inflation in the last years because everyone could be famous. So there was like all these pockets of fame that came out of everybody, you know, with the advent of smartphones and iPhones and everything, right? And this is a fable about that new kind of fame and why we need to warn ourselves off of this. Our story begins with a man called Fake Drake. Fake Drake was a Drake impersonator who first rose to prominence when terrible shot and awful human being Tory Lanez took a photo of Fake Drake in a club saying, wow, this guy looks like Drake. Now, I cannot stress enough, ladies and germs, how little this man looks like Drake. It is not only obnoxious that he calls himself a Drake impersonator, it is not only obsequious that he calls himself a Drake impersonator, it is truly gobsmacking that he would even have the gall. It's truly like, you know, an HGV van telling you it's a Ferrari impersonator. It's so, you can't even begin to picture how he would even attempt it. But if he can believe, this guy made tens of thousands of dollars pretending to be Drake and performing knockoff versions of Drake's hit songs at, you know, I imagine some of the worst clubs that have featured on the show, Jersey Shore, some of the most low-rent shopping malls you can imagine. He's there as the local celebrity, right? I first came across him in a podcast which his impact on his life we'll get into later, but it was called the No Jumper podcast. And he that's how I first came across him. The No Jumper podcast is truly, I cannot imagine why any living human being would listen to it, because it is some of the most just gross and animalistic, worst kinds of conversations you can imagine. The fact that it's even a thing is truly like the most kind of roided up, alpha-y types just talking shit and being awful to each other. But that's how I first came across him. But he would, in his early days, his handle, by the way, on Instagram was Izzy Drake, which actually, listen, as a comedian, you have to appreciate the pun craftsman. Izzy? Like he's a Drake impersonator. Izzy Drake? Izzy? That's good copy, as we say in the business. That's like, Don Draper would pitch that. He would get a full inspirational speech talking about the hunger for success. It was like, we don't want to simply be these successful people, but we want to maintain that part of us that reaches to change and be them. That's my Don Draper. But this guy would basically, he would make money off of going to these clubs. He would, get fake paparazzi to follow him to events where he'd kind of cover his face. He'd be wearing the owl hoodie. He cut a little heart in his hair. Again, does not look like Drake. But he had thousands of followers off the back of this, enough to make money. He even gets famous enough that he gets on the radar of real Drake, right? He gets Drake's number, and in a video that I found, I saw he calls real Drake just after the album Certified Lover Boy comes out, and he calls him to congratulate real Drake on the album. The real Drake's vibe when fake Drake calls him is like that of somebody who's found a tarantula on their hand. It is just, yep, great, thanks, man, thanks for calling, appreciate the love. Like, it's like that. It's like, it is like calling your mother-in-law after you've been divorced for 10 years. It's like, it's just so, he just so clearly doesn't want anything to do with him, to the point where you're like, you should not have posted this. Like, obviously it's great to play checkers with God and being seen, talking to someone famous, but when that person is actively running from you, it was the same vibe. What was the exact vibe of those Harry Daniels videos, those despicable Harry Daniels videos where he sings badly at celebrities on the red carpet? He had that exact energy of like, why would you share this? Why would you gain any clout from this? Like, it is so clear that he hates your guts, and you're trying to get on his radar and just show off that you have his number. Oh, it's sad, and it's him. He has like an entourage that he's rolling around. This is a fake Drake, and he's living a good life, because basically, after I did my research, and this is sort of the first inkling of this sort of 3D printed version of fame that I'm talking about, which is like, he has like an OnlyFans model girlfriend with like a huge BBL, and he's in these interviews where he looks like he's in the back of a limo with these three women in tight dresses, and like, he has this version of fame, this kind of like music video idea of what success and money looks like, but it's so hollow and it's so paper thin, and there comes a time where I suppose that hollow fame wasn't enough for fake Drake anymore. He wanted more. He wanted to stand on his own 2 feet. He wanted to get away from the shadow of the man that had built everything for him, simply by copying it, right? So, fake Drake challenges real Drake to a boxing match. If fake Drake wins, real Drake has to sign fake Drake to OVO. If real Drake wins, fake Drake will no longer be fake Drake. It's a shot across his bow. It is like Jesse James and the coward Robert Ford, right? He has to, it's sort of like the Santa Claus rules, It's like he thinks like, if I beat Drake, I become real Drake, right? Drake, as we've established, is a multi-pound valued rapper and doesn't just do celebrity boxing matches. So he quite rightly says, no, I won't do that fight. And this puts Fake Drake in a real pickle, because Fake Drake seemingly has already booked the venue for the fight and ends up having to replace real Drake with a different person to box. I don't know if that's exactly what happened in the interim, but that was more or less what happened. The reason he came into my life on the No Jumper podcast was because him and a streamer who, as far as I can tell, got famous for doing those videos where you walk up to women in Miami and talk to them. I don't remember his actual name. The only thing that's coming to mind is MK Ultra, so I'm just going to call him MK Ultra, because I think that captures the kind of sinister, guttural, and like a puerile kind of dude this guy is. He's very much like, he's like the id of the South Park writers, you know? It's just like pure vitriol and like kind of like thinking you're, oh man, just arrogant, awful, bad content, bad guy, really. Anyway, so they both appear on the No Jumper podcast to have a kind of showdown. Fake Drake's been on it once before, but then they have this sort of showdown where the host, who I think his name is Adam, he's like, all right, we have he's really checked out. He's like, I don't know why I'm doing this on my life. So they go like, all right, we've got Fake Drake, and Fake Drake, bless him, is like sexy Drake, like that. He's kind of doing a bit. And that is the last bit of fun that he has, because MK Ultra just starts going in on him in a way that's not even like, it's not like a roast battle where it's like they're friends. It's really like he is utterly humiliating the guy. Like rough stuff. Like it's a tough watch. It's a 40-minute podcast, and I watched all of it because I was absolutely fascinated by this man's ability to completely humiliate himself. And the height of the humiliation comes when Fake Drake's girlfriend, who's a real woman, it's not like fake Rihanna or something, she's invited to come talk on the podcast. So she sits down with them, and that's just a mistake. She's kind of, everyone just seems like their brain's working about 20%, because she comes on and they're asking her like really like questions that are made to hurt him, right? And there's one which is the real 1-2 punch of they asked Fake Drake's girlfriend, would you leave him for real Drake? And she says yes, like almost like it's nothing. And she was like they ask it, and it's like, I was dazzled by this, that he's lived like a real life Greek tragedy, he's built his whole life and his whole livelihood around this guy who he's never met, this artificer of a guy, and she would leave him, of course, because why would you be dating Fake Drake? Because you can't date real Drake, right? Like that just, it makes total sense. But they ask her, like, why would you leave Fake Drake for real Drake? And she says, because he's real. He literally built a plastic kingdom for himself that was rendered useless and rendered just utterly bereft because it's not real, because you are trying to mimic a man who did do something and did make something. Because listen, real Drake in this story, like him or not, he was trying to make himself part of it. It's his project, it's his idea, and it just couldn't. You didn't. You just wanted to mimic it and look like it, with none of the attention to detail, with none of the struggle, with none of the lived experience that goes with it. Devastating, utterly devastating. And she just says it like it's nothing. It is a Shakespearean level moment for me watching this happen. I could not believe it. But despite that humiliation, he has to reach the peak of this new fame that we're talking about which is that he has to get into the boxing ring with MK Ultra. Just a bear pit of fame, just diminishing returns of like, struggling to get a piece of the pie, but everyone else hates you for it, and like the hate this guy gets, like, you have to imagine it's all the time. And who is going to the fake Drake MK Ultra fight? Like, you see him, there's footage of him. His shtick was getting old around. I want to say Miami because this whole thing is so Miami coded, but everyone's getting tired of it. There's clips of him getting like called out by the MCs of these clubs and kicking him out before he can even do anything. They're really funny because also what fake Drake, if we're talking in terms of actually a good impersonation, fake Drake is very good at looking sad in that very kind of hound dog look that real Drake can. I don't know if you remember when he was booed off of Camp Flog Nor, real Drake, but he's going like, he's doing like a full act out. He's like a silent movie star expression wise. So, and fake Drake has the exact same thing because there's a bit where he's filming the MC, asks for him to get kicked out because he's like, this is fucked up. I know, Drake, this is weird. And then he turns the photo on himself and he's just like that. It's amazing. Anyway, but there comes a time in a man's life where you have to lie in the bed or the boxing ring that you've made, and you do wonder, why does he do all this? Because there's what is there to gain from this behavior? And in all the interviews with him, he talks about like, I've got to get in my bag, I've got a kid, I'm doing this for my kid, like I'm trying to, he's literally, he believes the way out of, he's living the performer fantasy, right? Oh, this will get me out of my situation. I'm doing this for the I'm doing this for the future generation, so my kid can eat. Which I don't know, maybe makes him honorable in some way. Maybe just like he can tolerate the slings and arrows of all of Miami and all of Toronto, just laughing you out of this town. As long as his kid can eat. Maybe. But it is not an honorable end for fake Drake. Fake Drake goes to the boxing match. Much like Rocky, he knows he's going to lose. And he shows up anyway. And who's he flanked by? Hand to God, swear to God this is real. He is flanked by a Snoop Dogg impersonator and a Gunna impersonator. Which is just... Firstly, I don't know who's asking for a Gunna impersonator. Like, at this point, Gunna is a Gunna impersonator. You know what I mean? Like, it's not the win you think it is. And then also just the fact that he, without knowing it, that there's this bonding community of the impersonator community just show up for each other. You know what I mean? Like, that is, they will, it's like, I heard you're doing the fight, we're getting down there. This is probably more than any impersonator's done ever. Like, you think about all those clips of like Michael Jackson impersonators where they walk up on each other and they're all on streams talking to each other. Like, it's, you gotta love it because not every creative community has that. Comedy, no way. People dip as soon as they're done. It's not, you could furrow a field with the impersonators community, but not with comedians. Anyway, fake Drake, it is a pity. I don't know if you've ever seen where they make bears dance, but it is like watching fake Drake fight this MK Ultra fella. It is a bleak, lonely ring that he steps out onto. It is a moment in the desert. I don't know what kind of disassociation he was experiencing getting knocked out by that guy, but it goes the way you think it goes. And, fake Drake taps out. But real Drake had one more thing to say to fake Drake. And I imagine it in a dream. I imagine he's knocked out and then, the screen goes white. And Drake appears to fake Drake. And he says, cease and desist. As the last we'll hear of this story is that Drake, real Drake, after all of this, sends a cease and desist letter to fake Drake to make him not pretend to be not to be Izzy Drake anymore. His handle is now Izzy Famous, which still good. Listen, it's hard to get a good handle, always has been, and you gotta give it up for this guy. To at least maybe his biggest strength is that he can get a good handle in all of this. Not a good handle on reality, not a good handle on what's the right call for him to do, but the right handle on Instagram. This modern kind of fame, if we're all chasing it, it will not pay dividends, guys. You will get a hollowed out, at best, you'll be drinking flat champagne and eating flaky hors d'oeuvres. And at worst, you'll have people trying to beat the shit out of you on the street and calling for you to die. It is a strange, new, awful fake fame that that I think a lot of people are pursuing, a lot of us are trying to do, and it is it's something. So how do we wrap this up? I guess instead of recording a podcast or filming your own music video or trying to make a reel go viral, you should keep an eye on your cat because he's trying to escape and getting caught in the thorns. Thank you very much for watching. I've been Danny McKeown, your next village idiot.